I've learned how to survive storms, adapt to fire, and rise again. And today I try to breathe that fire into the next generation of entrepreneurs. So today I want to take you on a journey. It's not a straight line. It's a winding road of hustle, setbacks, reinvention, connection, and ultimately fulfillment. So this is the story of how an 11-year-old hustler became a global SuperConnector. So here I am, 11 years old, or around that sort of age, what I could find from my mum's Facebook. So more importantly as well as my story, I'd like to share some of the lessons I've learned, because I do like to educate people. My entrepreneurial journey started at 11. I recorded movies onto VHS tapes and sold them to the kids in school. It's copyright infringement, but pirate. I was a pirate. Wow. I also sold sweets, matches, cigarettes, lighters, whatever people wanted really. I also had a paper round, or a few actually, and I worked in my uncle's salvage yard. I did whatever I could to earn money. There was no YouTube, no social media, no mentors, just basic entrepreneurial instinct. And that's where I learned my first business lesson: wholesale to retail. Buy in bulk, sell in smaller quantities, find a gap and serve it. But I also learned something bigger. Money equals choice. I earned money so I could do the things I enjoyed. And that feeling of freedom, I planted a seed that never left me. So then come the sales apprenticeship. At 15, I started my real sales apprenticeship. Door-to-door sales during summer holidays, telesales in the evenings and weekends, all while studying for my A-levels, and then eventually full-time after that, after I finished college. By 16, I was a team leader. By 18, a canvas team manager. Sales taught me hard work, responsibility, persistence, and self-improvement will always pay dividends. Hard work pays off, but working smart and working hard pays even more. I also learned some life-changing lessons. Sales taught me discipline, rejection taught me resilience, perfected my pitch and skills earned me more money, and hard work pays off, but like I said, working smart and working hard pays more. What I learned was managing people well can earn you more than doing work on your own. And secondly, the right vehicle combined with the right skills can actually change your life. So by 21 years old, I was actually earning about £40,000 a year, which is quite a lot now, but back then in the 90s it was a lot more. After that journey, I decided to get into the world of corporate sales. I was fed up of working evenings and weekends, 7 days a week, and not really having much of a life. So I decided to go down the corporate route. I chased the holy grail, really, a Monday to Friday job, working 9 to 5 with strong commission, like what I was used to earning. I tried radio advertising, newspaper advertising, telecoms, security solutions, and I realised something quickly. Corporate sales is a completely different game than consumer sales. But I persisted, and I learned that solution selling. I learned how to deal with stakeholder management. I learned long sales cycles. I learned how to do field sales as well as telesales. And I learned the difference between consumer and corporate psychology. It was my real business education. Then I decided to do my first adult entrepreneurial leap. Obviously, as a young kid, I was a hustler. I was doing whatever I could. But this was an opportunity at 22 I took to go into business the first time for myself. I launched a club night in Cardiff called Into the Shadows. The actual idea came from an opportunity. A club I used to go to, which was the Hippo Club. Don't know if anyone knows it or not. I was a raver in the 90s. Basically, the Hippo Club shut down, and I had nowhere to go. And a friend of mine had a venue with a basement underneath. I also knew DJs, door staff. I knew ticket sellers, promoters, people who work on the tills, the club rooms. I had all the pieces in place. So I decided there and then, okay, let's go for it. And that was my first sort of move into the entrepreneurial space. It actually was a really big success quite early on. I also knew the clubbers as well, so it was a good venture to get into. So being self-employed, I learned running my own business showed me living on your own schedule is powerful. Being opportunistic is also powerful. But having a great network makes everything easier, and it's super powerful. Highlights at the time, I earned good money, I had a great time. I was like 22, 23, partying all the time, enjoying life. It was an easy step to take because I had the right people around me, and I was working on something I was passionate about, so it didn't really feel like work. So they were some sort of important life lessons, really. Then come the rocket ship. I worked for a fintech startup. At 25, I joined a company called CreditSafe. They were a new credit reference agency. At a starting salary of 15 grand and unlimited commission. Within 4 months, I was one of the top sellers in the company, a position I kept for 10 years. I moved into the key accounts team after 4 months when they formed it for the first time. And I was one of the 2 top sellers in that team for 2 years. After 2 years, they made me manager of the team, and I carried on running it for 8 years then. So I stayed at that company for 10 years, initially on the team, then running it. And during that decade, I was promoted 9 times. I learned industry disruption, I learned tech-driven growth, I learned partnership building, I learned affiliate and reseller channels, I learned how to manage and tender for large contracts, I learned project management and how to implement high-end technical solutions through project management, through project initiation documents and business opportunity documents, etc. And I learned the power of technology in business in order to scale. The highlights were, I was there for 10 years. For 8 years, I took on a team that was doing 300,000 and I turned it into a department doing 5.7 million, which is actually 20 times growth. Somebody I actually look up to is a guy called Grant Cardone. He teaches people about 10x growth, and most people think he's crazy or he's insane talking about that. But I've actually done 20 times growth, and I know it's possible if you get the right team together and you have the right sort of use of efficiency, technology, and people. I won company and industry awards. I was taken to Cuba and Sweden on all expensive paid trips. And I also started speaking at credit industry events. So, you know, that's probably where I first did public speaking, which I'm not comfortable with. A lot of people know me as being quite a confident person. I'm not actually comfortable speaking in public because I'm not a centre of attention kind of person. But if you want to do stuff and achieve stuff, sometimes you've got to push yourself out of your comfort zone and you've got to put yourself into the limelight. So that's something I learned to do at that time. Something a few vodkas didn't help me with, just like I've got a couple tonight as well. So then I hit a big realization, probably from listening to a lot of entrepreneurs at various different business events, where I learned no matter how good you are, when you're in a job, you're actually just over broke. That's what job stands for, just over broke. If you don't own the outcome and you don't have equity in the business, then ultimately you're building someone else's dream and not your own. I had enough of helping make multi-millionaires even richer. So at 30, while still employed, I started my own business. Between 30 and 35, I built an e-commerce wedding accessory business, running it while still working full-time as a corporate sales director. This taught me another lesson. In today's tech global world, digital marketing is massive leverage. I learned SEO, e-commerce systems, online marketing, global distribution, I worked with Debenhams in Oxford Street. We were recognised as star of the shows at Europe's largest wedding trade show in Harrogate on our first time exhibiting. And I managed to sell products to brides all over the world. First, I had first page rankings for lots of our products using SEO skills I learned from previous corporate clients in my job. But then something else then becomes central to my life. These are the consultant years. At 34, I become fully self-employed. I worked as a sales and marketing consultant and later running a boutique digital marketing agency. I help businesses launch, scale, and transform. But something else was really central to my life, and that was networking. For over a decade, I attended every week Intrabiz, wholesale network. I just go week in, week out, because I'm a big believer you get out of life what you put in. So, if you want to get something out of something, put all into it. Sometimes I was networking 3 times a week in the real world and lots of events online. During COVID, I started networking up to about 10 times a week, at least. And I was on online events all around the world. I also run a Clubhouse room on Clubhouse for those that, hands up if you were involved in Clubhouse during COVID. Small number of people. Well, Clubhouse was an online social media platform which allowed you to audio speak with people rather than just text. I actually was on Clubhouse probably about 10 hours a day for about a year. I actually once opened up my room for 24 hours a day for 83 days in a row as part of a challenge. And I met thousands of entrepreneurs from all around the world during those times. I also learned another valuable lesson. Knowledge compounds. I deepened my expertise. SEO, content marketing, automation tools, social media strategies, networking and business. I also discovered something, again, probably through Intrabiz and Paul, so cheers Paul. I discovered the world of personal development. Learning from people like Grant Cardone, Elena Cardone, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Brian Tracy, John DiMartini, and others. In 2018, because of my networking, I actually become a Networker of the Year. Again at Intrabiz, after about 10 years of them operating, they decided to put an awards show on. They did a Network of the Year category and I won it out of like hundreds of members and thousands of clients. I was the inaugural Network of the Year at Wales' biggest network at the time. And from that, my network had started to expand, explode globally, really. So, setbacks and comebacks. Life isn't a straight line. At 34, just after starting self-employment, I went through a real bad divorce. I guess my business plateaued for about 4 years. I lost momentum, I lost drive, couldn't really be bothered, Then I discovered, luckily enough, the world of personal development, started to set myself new goals, new mindset, rebuild my drive. At the same time, a couple of years later, a friend of mine reached out to me from the clubbing days. His life was a bit off track, let's say, to be kind. He asked me if I could help him get it back on track. So actually, I moved him into my house. Together, we started setting goals. We started setting short, medium, long-term goals. We actually wrote them on yellow post-its and put them all around the house. And every time we achieved them, we rip one off and celebrate and then move on to the next one. That period taught me that comebacks start with goals, direction, and discipline. Also, helping others can help rebuild your own strength. But then life changed again. My father became seriously ill. I stepped away from business to care for him. Then COVID arrived soon after. Like many people, everything stopped for me. I wasn't furloughed, had no grants. I just had to get by. Like many people, lots of people had to go through the same situation. But that time became one of the most productive periods of my life. I focused on fitness, personal growth, building online communities, launching a podcast, I even wrote my first book. And I learned something powerful. When you work on yourself, productivity multiplies. Reinvention again. Sorry, up to that one. At 45, a friend of mine bought a hotel in Porthcawl, a guy I met networking years earlier. He wanted some help for a while, and I was free because the dad I was caring for was in hospital. So I decided, actually, I've got 3 weeks spare, December, not much on, I'll come down and help you. I ended up staying there for 11 months. I learned the hospitality business, I learned doing events, I learned community building. But partway through that 11-month period, I also lost my father. Afterwards, I took some time off. I travelled across Europe, and eventually I ended up in Turkey where my mum lives. Whilst riding a speedboat and being pulled on a large rubber inflatable, I did a backflip, didn't let go of the handles, and ripped my wrist out of my joint. I was at the end of 7 weeks of travelling all through Europe and then spending a lot of time in Turkey. So I had some money, it was all gone. I spent it on hospital bills, etc. So from that situation, I had to again rebuild financially. So I took some practical jobs in order to pay off some credit card debt that I'd accrued during that time. I was a courier driver, but I didn't like getting wet in the rain. I was a bus driver, but I didn't like driving little buses around small towns. So I decided to become a coach driver. I thought I was going to do it for a couple of months, but I actually enjoyed it, so I did it for a bit longer. I enjoyed the mental peace of just turning up, doing a job, and leaving it again. Something I've never really experienced. So that experience though taught me 2 lessons. Sometimes you must step backwards to move further forwards. And pride can be expensive. So I managed to do that job for 18 months. I saved up a lot of money because it was a lot of hours. And so at 48, life had come full circle. While searching for an Airbnb property to live in and run as a business, I stumbled across a pub and a hotel in Penarth. Instead of renting rooms, I decided to rent the whole venue. And that's where we are now. When I opened in October, I had about 12 customers. Today we host business events, live music events and sports events. And every day I get to do what I love. I meet people, I build community, and I create experiences. We're not quite where we need to be at the moment, but we're definitely heading in the right direction. So some final lessons from the Welsh Dragon. Here's what I know for sure. If you're going to work hard, you should also play hard. You only get one life, so enjoy the journey. Help people wherever you can, it comes back tenfold. Build networks because connections change lives. Never stop learning because the more you learn, the more you earn. And remember, time is the ultimate asset. Money can be rebuilt, time cannot. Final message. That's me here. So you only get one life. You are the author, the director, and the lead actor in your movie. So make it bold, make it meaningful, and make it a story worth telling. Thank you very much.
Well done. Well done.